Hey, so a few people have asked how we use ACE with our classical, and so this video will be to show you how we use ACE, what ACE is, and also how you can add to ACE if you choose to do that. So let's get to it. Okay, so ACE has 6 subjects, 7 if you choose to use their Bible. I do not use their Bible, no particular reason, it's just not something that suits us. So I use their word building, which is spelling, and this is going to give you etymology, and it's going to give you spelling rules. Then we have literature and creative writing, which starting in 3rd grade, they read books that go along with these, and they start to draw out information and conclusions and how to process things. English, we have your grammar, sentence structure, and your basic important writing skills that are taught in the English. And I like the fact that the 3 of them are separate but yet work together as one. A lot of workbook type curriculums and even textbook type curriculums seem to have all 3 wrapped up into one, and I feel like there's never enough practice, especially when you start getting into the parts of speech and diagramming, which ACE is very good for. Math. ACE breaks down their math. I've had a few parents say that the math is easy. It's not easy. It revs up quickly. ACE is a little classical in nature in that in the earlier grades, they focus on memorization of addition and subtraction and then multiplication in the 2nd and 3rd grades. And the reason for this is, as they get older, they need to have a foundation. And so they believe in a lot of repetition so that the children memorize this. And I'm seeing the fruit of that because my daughter is doing, finishing up her 5th grade math, and being able to add and subtract and multiply and divide quickly comes in handy when they're doing multi-step equations and long division and stuff. So what I like about the math is even when the parents tell me, my kids find it easy, when I ask them, well, do they have it all memorized? Do they have all the addition and subtraction memorized? Usually they don't, and then I encourage them to continue doing social studies and science, and this is exactly what it is. It's our social studies and history, and then we have our science, and I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on these 2 subjects on how you can add to them or expand what they're already going over, which is something you might be doing already and you don't even realize it. What's great about ACE is that their curriculum is self-contained. Everything your student needs is in the PACEs. There is no teacher's guide, so it's not like you have to worry about it coming back and saying, oh no, I forgot to assign this writing assignment. All the writing assignments and everything is in the PACEs. The only thing you do need are the score keys, which this is my daughter's score keys. So I keep them in a binder, and she's in 5th, 6th, and my son is in 2nd, 3rd. I say it like that because we're finishing up 2nd, going into 3rd. And so what I do is I keep the score keys in here. I use these magazine holders to so she can flip through and get her subjects. And then I keep this. I have this printable on the Facebook group page. I have a group page for ACE Moms, ACE Homeschool Moms Lounge on Facebook. I'll try to post a link. And so this is just a free printable. And so I just keep the self-test grades, the PACE test grade, and then the date of the PACE test. And so that's how we do that. So now I'm going to go over what's in each PACE so that you understand where the self-test and the PACE test. Okay, so I'm going to use science as an example. So each PACE starts off with a scripture verse, and then it goes on to vocabulary or new words. In the middle of each PACE is what they call a PACE test. And this is the test you give when your child or student completes the test. And where is it? Oh, here it is. And so you actually pull this out. We're not using this yet, so I'm not pulling it out. You pull this out and it goes aside. Here is one pulled out that my son is probably going to be doing in the next day or 2. And so there are no grade levels on the PACEs. They have numbers, and they have certain numbers that coincide with certain grade levels. But this is especially beneficial if you have multiple children and one student is really good in math and the other one isn't, and so the younger student might actually quickly catch up with your other student, and so they don't even realize what grade they're in. So you pull out the PACE test. Now, each section, each PACE has 3 sections. And what I mean by sections is it's a section that they read and they discuss and they answer the questions, and then they have what's known as a checkup. And so what happens is the checkup gives you, the teacher and the student, an idea of what they're remembering, what they're comprehending, and what they are retaining. And this is really more for the student. A lot of the times if my daughter misses something on the checkup, she'll say, oh, I didn't realize that, and we'll go over it. So they have 3 of those, and then at the end of the case, which I don't keep track of the checkup grades, there's no need. You just go through the checkup grades if they have a problem later on with the self-test. So at the end of the PACE, there is a self-test, and this self-test is everything contained in this PACE. Now, if they have a problem with anything here, then you know that they need to go back through that, and that's where the checkups help, because you're able to see with those checkups the areas that they could have or needed some help in. So here at the last few pages of the PACE is your self-test, and that's the checkup. So as they get older, they also have what they call a word checkup, and this is part of the checkup, and it's for vocabulary, which is important. And then so they have the self-test, and then when they're done, you'll give them this, the PACE test, which this is for a different subject, but you get the idea. And so each PACE is supposed to be done in about 15 school days or 3 weeks. Now, if you decide that you want to take longer, you can. So, but what I do is I usually take the page number and divide it by 14. So 14 divided into 43, you're probably going to get 2 point something pages a day should be done. Usually I give my kids 3 pages a day, or they assign for themselves 3 pages a day, and then they go ahead and do 3 pages, 2 pages. One day might be filled with a lot of information that they need to study, and so I might only give them 2 pages a day. Either way, so how do we add to this? And that's what we're going to discuss next. So one of the biggest questions that moms have is this enough? ACE by itself is completely enough. However, you can add to it. We are big classical fans in this house. The classical method is more about laying a foundation of memory work, and then the children make the dialectic connection when they're older or when they're ready. So an example would be skip counting. My kids had all the skip counting memorized, and when they hit 2nd grade, they kind of made the connection that it was multiplication. And so by 3rd grade, when they started getting multiplication, they knew all of their multiplication facts because of the skip counting. And so it made the transition easier. Same thing with the presidents. We do a lot with geography. And so, for example, today my son was reading about a missionary in Spain. And so we went to the map and he knew exactly where Spain was. He knew that it used to be called Hispania and that it sits right under Gaul, which is present-day France. So you can't ask for more than that. It gives our kids a visual connection to the history and the land that they're learning about. So what we do with our classical is this year I'm just simply adding, we're drawing the continents. We do the continents, and now we're going on to Africa. We're drawing through Africa. It's an easy way to add on. There's a scope and sequence for ACE. I don't really use that, but you can. So for history, a lot of people enjoy the Charlotte Mason approach, which is using rich literature to go with that time frame. You can absolutely do this. You can add in a full Charlotte Mason curriculum like My Father's World, or I am partial myself to Knotgrass, From Adam to Us. They have a great book that you can read through with your kids. And then they have great map books, and it's a simplified Charlotte Mason in that they do have a literature package to go with the time frame that you're learning about. Not too much. Sunlight's a big one. They have a lot of great books. Often I take the Sunlight reading list for that time frame and just pull some books out that I think that we'll enjoy, and that's really plenty. You're really looking in the elementary grades to get your kids excited about learning. So one of the areas that we're really big on is science, and we'll get to that in a minute. Science. So science is an area that my kids absolutely love, both of them now. I don't know why, which is funny because I'm a history person and I'm not crazy about science. So this year, for example, my daughter loves science, and so for 6th grade, they kind of go over 3 topics in the scope and sequence. They touch on a little bit of chemistry, acids and bases. So we took it upon ourselves to find a chemistry song, and we are memorizing the periodic table of elements while reading this along with her ACE. It's really overkill. You don't have to do it. But because I have science kids, we do it. So then they're gonna go over a little bit of physics, which is magnetism this year in 6th grade. And so we'll pull David in, my 3rd grader, with that. And I have quite a few books on magnetism here, and we'll watch some videos to really get into it. And then they go back over into a little bit of biology with photosynthesis, which we are pretty much aware of due to our classical memory work. So we'll have some fun with that. So you can add and make little unit studies to whatever ACE is teaching, or you can just sort of go off and have fun and add your own. ACE does have experiments. We've had some fun. I posted a few pictures of my daughter doing her testing for acids and bases. I use it, they really enjoy it, and it just helps them learn about things. She was really excited when she saw all the color changes. So a little about myself. I am not an expert. I am not an expert on homeschooling by any stretch of the imagination. I have been doing it for over 20 years. I have 2 homeschool graduates, and I now have my 2 younger 2 that I'm homeschooling, and with God's will, you know, through high school again. So I have experience, not really an expert by any stretch. So a few things. For those of you who are looking into homeschooling for the first time, you know, whatever you decide to use, whether you use ACE or a classical or a combination, just calm down and take a deep breath. The time you spend with your children is probably more important than any curriculum you're going to pick. The same goes really to any parent. The time you spend is probably more influential with your children than you'll ever realize. Your children are picking up on your work ethic, they're picking up on your integrity, and that's really more important than anything that you're going to teach them. What I like about ACE specifically is that they do go over biblical characteristics that we really want our kids, and they apply scripture to their everyday life, which is really giving them a foundation of knowledge that hopefully they'll apply and become very wise with. But again, whatever you use, it's okay. My advice would be is if you're new to this, take a deep breath. Find people, a local support group of moms who are going to encourage you to go with your gut and go with use what you think will work for you. If you're a mom and you have 4 children under the age of 6, you might not want to pick a teacher-intensive curriculum. It may not work for you, or it might work. I know it wouldn't work for me, but okay. So you kind of have to go with your gut and go with what works. More money doesn't mean better. And so just go with your gut and understand that people will throw out lingo to you like your child's learning style. That one can throw you and can really frustrate you. And the thing is, our children's learning styles change from year to year. So it's really hard, but any curriculum can be changed to work with any style. So if your child is an auditory person, like my Sarah can pick up fine details auditorily without, I'm thinking she's not paying attention, and audiobooks work great for her. She's picking up every detail. My son is more kinesthetic. He likes to move around, so I let him jump up and down the stairs as he's reciting things. When he's reading to me, he often does it in a funny voice, and I let him do it. So you can kind of tailor the curriculum to your child. Sometimes they have a coloring page. My daughter would do it. My son hates coloring, so I didn't make him do it. Curriculums are just that. They are a tool that you use in your home to teach and train up your children. It is not the end-all be-all. It should not dictate your life. And I will say, the one thing I like about ACE is because it's sort of an open and go. And so even while we were moving, even during the busiest times of our lives, we can be very faithful with our homeschooling. And so as I always say, a little bit every day is better than a whole lot 3 days a week. Or, you know, you start out the school year with all these grand plans, and then all of a sudden it falls to the wayside because who's got the flu and who is having a bad attitude that day. And so some of these curriculums seem really great in theory, but when you get down to it, your everyday life, you just really need to get back to the basics. And ACE gives you the core so that even on your busiest day, when the kids get their ACE work done, you know that they got what they needed and that you're not missing out or skipping anything. So I hope this helps you guys. Whatever you decide, your children will be fine. Have a great day and God bless.